Hello, welcome to a brand new episode of the BGB's podcast. I am your host, John Warren. With me is no one today. Unfortunately, my co-host, Niki Grayson, is on the run. Hold on 1 second, folks. I'm going to have to hit the cough button. That's right. I'm still sick. My co-host, Niki Grayson, is unfortunately on the receiving end of the terrible wildfires and smoke situation in Los Angeles. Their home is okay. They are okay. Barley and Nikki left and went to their parents' place a little bit away from the Altadena area, which is where the smoke is really bad. It's drifting into areas of Los Angeles that Nikki is in. LB also, for friends of the show, uh, no LB hung tears, of course. Also, escaped and went to a hotel where they had power. So they're both okay. They're safe. Nikki is safe, but not having a great time, as you can imagine. And yeah, the air quality around them is improving a little bit. They're both kind of contemplating possibly getting out of town, as a lot of people are right now. And it's a devastating situation. I mean, I think like I'll start the show with a focus on that. In 2015, I moved to Los Angeles and really didn't want to. I really didn't think I would like it. Um, and what ended up happening is that I really did fall in love with the city. We lived on the east side in Glendale for a few years, and we lived in the valley in Sherman Oaks for a few years. And I saw a lot of Los Angeles. I saw a lot of California by virtue of living in Los Angeles and being able to travel a bit. And it's a wonderful place. Um, so this being the most devastating fire in the city's history is something that I'm not taking lightly, and it's also a situation that's continuing to unfold. I'm recording this on Thursday afternoon, and they're evacuating North Santa Monica, I believe, as we speak, which is around where we worked for many years at SAM. So it's just horrible. The loss of um, people's homes. This time, we've dealt with fires before. This time, I'm only 1 degree of separation away from someone who has just totally lost their house, um, and it's terrible. And I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot left to say about it. I hope it gets under control. I know President Biden said that the federal government would cover kind of 100% of the early recovery costs, whatever that entails. I hope that is not interrupted by the next president coming in and fucking that up. I imagine he might be someone who does that because he is a vindictive little bitch and will do stuff like that. So I know he hates California. So hopefully that recovery effort is mostly taken care of in the next 10 days or so. We don't have to worry about that. But it's just a horrible situation. Um, I love that city a lot. I know a lot of people are in pain. A lot of really important stuff has been lost. And if you do want to check out some efforts, I'll leave some links in the show notes this week for organizations that you can donate to. I know that a couple folks are organizing some streams for next week that will also do the same. Um, excuse me. Um, yeah, so I'll leave those links in the show notes. You can check those out and please do whatever you can. We really appreciate it. Um, Los Angeles is an important city to this organization and also just on a personal level. So, um, yeah. So, Nikki should be back next week, barring any sort of additional catastrophes. Knock on wood. I hope that's not the case. Um, it's just been a really rough week, and hopefully it clears up soon. Um, no good way to segue. Let's talk about video games. I guess. All the while the one of the best weeks of the year in gaming is this week, and it's AGDQ week. I absolutely love GDQ weeks. One in the winter, and of course the one in the summer. I love these runs. It's just really fun to sit with the community. If you haven't joined our Discord, you could do that. We have a channel in there where we talk about AGDQ. Discord.gg/VGBs if you want to join. Excuse me. I'm not going to get the cough button every time, folks. Um, but yeah, AGDQ's been a good week. We're gonna answer some questions and talk about that a little bit later in the show. But there is some news afoot. Of course, Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed one more time. It's by another month. It was supposed to come out on February 14th, which I had forgotten. Now it's going to come out on March 20th. So it's going to get about a 6-week delay, 5-week delay. And the quote though is kind of insane. Let me try to find it real quick. Um, yeah, okay. Uh, sorry, it's just really funny. It's a word salad. As far as like the actual game delay, they say that the additional time will allow the team to better incorporate player feedback gathered over 3 months, best conditions for launch, blah 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 blah. However, as rumors continue to swirl around Ubisoft's potential sale to a company like Tencent or another strategic partner, um, Ubisoft said it appointed, quote, leading advisors to review and pursue various transformational, strategic, and capitalistic options to extract the best value for stakeholders, end quote. It's just a gross statement. Extract the best value for stakeholders. Anyway, delays are usually probably a good thing. I have no real dog in the fight in terms of a new Assassin's Creed game in the year 2025. However, folks excited about this one might be a little trepidatious. Obviously, like all the stuff with the racism and the sexism and all the fucking conversation about that stuff has just been exhausting. But it's a big beefy Assassin's Creed game. They apparently need a lot. They've needed a significant amount of time, months, because the original release date was in November. Um, and and hopefully that additional time will help them polish it up. What I would be frustrated to see happen, although I think it is more likely than not, is that this game is still going to release in a fairly ridiculous state, and there will probably be a day one or week one patch that addresses a lot of those issues. Just like there was with Star Wars Outlaws, these big open world Ubisoft games are usually pretty buggy when they come out, and they usually continue to be buggy for a little while, but they eventually get to a place where they're pretty well regarded, and they're always games that I still see people play years after they come out. I still see people playing Odyssey. I still see people playing Valhalla. Um, so these are still unbelievably popular games. And now it's going to be March 20th. Speaking of which, about other open world games that are beloved, even if they're a little imperfect. Donnie Yen was attached to the movie version of Sleeping Dogs for a very long time, and now he says it's basically not happening, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, I think if any kind of combination could have been cool, Donnie Yen plus a Sleeping Dogs movie, that probably actually would have been pretty cool. Sleeping Dogs is a pretty good game. It's 12, 13 years old now, something like that. Um, and although it was, kind of a lesser of the open world games that kind of came out around that time, quote unquote, it had more interesting elements to it that I thought really stood out. Um, and now that we're not going to see a movie version of it, you know, kind of annoying, but not that surprising. Um, as rumors have continued to swirl about the existence of Switch 2 and what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, all of the above, Nintendo actually did announce this week that they are producing a Lego Game Boy. They have produced like a Lego NES before, which is really really cool. Also, that huge Deku tree, I think it was like $300. And this is now a Lego Game Boy. It's going to come out in October of 2025. So like big gap between here and then. Um, but it's pretty cool. There's like a Lego brick D-pad, which is neat. So if this is a pretty cool thing. I don't have the original Nintendo one. I've kind of had my eye on that one for a while, kind of wanting to build that one, but haven't bit the bullet yet. But this Game Boy looks pretty slick. So that's kind of cool. I'm not a big Lego head, but the more of these things that come out, I'm kind of like, "Oh, okay, maybe I get a couple of these going." I don't know if I have the patience for Lego anymore. I used to really love Lego, but I liked the imagination of it. I like to create kind of my own custom stuff, create little stories with the little guys, kind of original works. I never really touched the branded stuff, and now it's like a lot of branded stuff. Anyway, my dad got really into Legos a few years ago. I got him like a Kingfisher and an Imperial, uh, like a Tie Fighter, um, this Christmas. He hasn't put them together yet. Maybe I'll help him do that. Anyway, he got really into Lego. Kind of once I got over it, he got really into it, which isn't that the way? Excuse me. Speaking of Nintendo Switch rumors, um, they're fucking everywhere. Peripheral makers, um, have just Amazon, like all these places are basically hinting at different features and schematics of how the Nintendo Switch 2 will actually operate. I don't think, because this is accelerating so quickly, my honest guess is that it's not going to be too long before we actually hear something official from them. I think the thinking was March that we would hear something. My honest guess is that because this is accelerated so much, it's going to be sooner than that, but we will see. Um, there are some really crazy rumors, though. There appears to be what looks like an optical sensor on the inside of one of the Joy-Con, and that optical sensor, to some, appears to be something like a mouse optical sensor, which would lead some people to believe that you'll be able to like pop that thing on a desk and use it like a mouse. I actually really don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, no one has debunked this yet, but I find it just hard to believe. It doesn't really fit into my mind's eye of like what we've actually heard officially from Nintendo. The things that we kind of have heard from like good leakers and internal rumblings and all that stuff is that the dock itself is going to basically give you a boost of power. We know that the Joy-Con will probably be more of a kind of a magnetic situation than something that you have to slide on physically, which I also think is good. The whole thing is probably going to be a little bit bulkier and beefier. The screen's going to be bigger. I don't think they're going to have Joy-Con that are basically like big, thick things like those third-party knockoffs Joy-Con, which like I actually really like that are thicker. I don't think it'll be like that. But it does. Every single mock-up and all that stuff appears to be a bit of a beefier machine. Maybe not as beefy as a Steam Deck, but somewhere in between a Nintendo Switch OLED and a Steam Deck. Um, but yeah, those leaks and rumors and all that stuff, they've just been accelerating a ton. Um, and I think it's just an indication that it's about to come out, honestly. I think last week on this very show, I was the one that said like, "Oh, I think the Switch 2 will be out later this year." I now no longer believe that. I think it's going to be much sooner in the year than I initially thought. Partially because I was looking at kind of lists of games and all that stuff. Donkey Kong Country HD, uh, uh, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD remake or whatever. That's out this week. And then really, it's so light the schedule that there's just a giant hole. I wouldn't read too much into like Mario and Luigi on the banner. I know that was like a weird thing that got a lot of attention, but really it was just that's been their banner for a while. They just switched it back recently. Rev Valentine's been doing some great kind of like debunking reporting over on IGN, so go check out her stuff because it's really good. Um, Discussing all of that, but I do expect there to be a Mario game at the Switch 2 launch. I don't know if it's Odyssey 2. I don't know if it's like something totally different, but I do expect there to be something. It's been a very long time. It's been since 2017 since we got a new Mario game. And I mean, obviously you can count Wonder, which is really genuinely one of the best Mario games ever. But it's a 2D game. It's different. So it would not surprise me if there was a big main line. I know some people have been talking about like a Mario Kart 9 or a follow up to that. I just don't. I don't know. They just had everyone spend so much money on extra courses in 8 Deluxe. There's something about it that I'm like, I think that was more of like a Smash Brothers like send off to me of like, it's gonna be a little while. It's gonna be a little while. So I think it's Mario. I think it's just been so quiet. Um, I'm I'm crossing my fingers honestly, although I think it's been too long for this to really make sense. But honestly, just a very much like a Tears of the Kingdom or Super Mario Galaxy 2 situation of like, damn, we had a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor of the first one of these that was great. So here's Odyssey 2, and it's just maximal Mario bullshit. It's just like just pure Mario um, goodness with new kingdoms and maybe the kingdoms have changed. I don't know. It would be great, or it could be something totally different. Who knows? Maybe they'll throw a wrench in it and make Sunshine 2 really make a lot of people mad. But what if they made like a good Sunshine? What if they made Super Mario Sunshine, but it was good actually? That'd be great. That'd be really great. But I don't think it'll be long. I think this is accelerated so much that like it wouldn't surprise me if we heard about this in the next like month, and it gets released in the next like quarter. I don't know. I don't know anything, but I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me. We mentioned this on the Tuesday morning show, Wake Up Honey, It's Tuesday, which you can see over at twitch.tv/VGBs. Um, but there's some more detail we can go into here. The United States government has actually labeled Tencent as they've added them to a list of basically Chinese military operations. So Tencent is now kind of known in the United States officially as a Chinese military government institution, which is not. I mean, if we still worked there, this week would have really sucked for us because I think we would have immediately been afraid about kind of like the political climate that we're about to get into if I worked at Tencent. Um, and then two, I don't know what's it like trying to get a job somewhere else if now this company has just been labeled as a an extension of the Chinese government slash military. Um, it's pretty wild. Anyway, Tencent has basically said this is part of an attempt to be unreasonably suppressive of Chinese companies. They say it's a mistake. They're going to work with the government on trying to correct this. Um, I think it is unbelievably unlikely. I mean, if we had still a year left on Biden's term or something, I would think maybe Tencent gets off this list. I don't think they get off this list with Trump coming in. I don't think it happens. So it will be very interesting to see how their businesses are squeezed in the United States with that designation in tow. Maybe it's not much at all, but it could be. But it could be. And it's a very interesting story, and it might have a ripple effect in the games industry. There's nothing on the horizon that indicates that they're going to have to divest from these businesses. There's nothing on the horizon that suggests that they're about to experience a TikTok level event where they're going to have to divest or close their businesses here in the U.S. There's like we don't see any of that, but like things happened in around the pandemic, pre-pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic. I can't even remember where the Trump government was taking a really firm stance on Tencent and was even talking about that idea of they're going to have to do some divestment. Fortunately, that went away, but this would indicate that some of that pressure may be mounting again. Although we have nothing in firm writing or disclosure that would indicate that that's like coming, but certainly interesting. Um, Let me think about some stuff that I've been doing and working on. Obviously, I'm about to fire up Donkey Kong Country Returns HD for the first new game release of 2025 for me. Gonna take a sip of water real quick. Doing the solo water sick is hard, Jordo. I apologize. Um, but I've been playing with the new Ambernick device. Um, I picked up an Ambernick device, the basically the Game Boy SP version of it. They have these 35XX clamshell or Game Boy SPs essentially. Basically, the guts of these are the same across a bunch of different body types. There's a new Game Boy Advance shaped one, all this other stuff. I liked the form factor of the SP. Russ from Retro Game Core had recommended it. Um, and it's kind of like a pocketable. It's bulky, but it's a pocketable handheld device in a way that a Steam Deck definitely isn't. Even a Retroid Pocket 5, not super pocketable. It's a little bit bigger than an iPhone. Um, but I've got both, so I can talk about both a bit. Um, the the Ambernick did come preloaded with a bunch of stuff, just like the TikTok shop is going to try to sell you. I have not taken the time to sit and set it up in a different way yet. I'm going to, either this weekend or sometime next week. That is more of it's just a D-pad, 4 face buttons, 4 triggers. It's just a simple emulation device for, I would say, early through easy 32-bit era. So if you got like Nintendo, Genesis, Super Nintendo, Turbo Graphics, Neo Geo, um, even up to PlayStation 1. This thing runs pretty well. I've been playing Chrono Trigger with it because it's been a while since I played through that game. So I'm like, okay, well, let's go for it. Um, and some good releases, but also a couple of PlayStation 1 games. It's got some N64 and Dreamcast games. I don't really recommend playing any of that stuff without a joystick. So that's like a pocketable, lower, lower tier emulation device. And it was like $80, I want to say. I think you can actually get it cheaper if you go to like AliExpress or something. But I got it directly from Ambernick. I like it. I can see why Russ likes it. I can see why it's nice to have something that is portable. It's relatively easy to set up, and it's just kind of no frills. Like you just open it. It's got this nice like auto save feature when you open and close it. So that's cool. Um, I've read somewhere that the actual charger that comes with it, the cord that comes with it, actually doesn't really work. So I've just been using a different USB-C cord with a brick. Just buyer beware. The Retroid Pocket 5 is, I think, a much more upscale device. It was 200 something dollars, and I got it a little bit before Christmas. And that is out of the box, essentially an Android phone with a controller attached to it, essentially. And it was pretty easy to set up a bunch of emulators and grab some ROMs and set that up. So I've been playing PlayStation games, PlayStation 2 games. They run really, really well. Dreamcast, and it runs up to like Wii U, Switch, if you're into that. I've never really done Switch emulation, so whatever. But it plays like GameCube and all that stuff like really, really well. Um, and it's nice. It is a nice little device. It is a little. It's a. I will say it's a bit of an adjustment, having played a lot of stuff on Steam Deck for a long time. But what I wanted to do in my life, I was kind of looking at my habits and all that stuff, and I really have been playing more just Steam games on my Steam Deck, and that's where I'm playing PC games. Like aside from like Path of Exile 2, which I'm playing on my desktop. Um, but I've been playing a lot of just normal ass Steam games on Steam Deck. Even though I still have like an emulation set up there, I just noticed myself playing less of that stuff, but still having the urge to play more emulated stuff. But there was something about the form factor of the large Steam Deck that was, um, I don't know, bothering me. I don't know why. And so the Retroid Pocket 5 has been a really nice adjustment, and it's just for emulation. There are some Android games that like if I got into like Genshin Impact, I could play it on that phone. I mean, on that device, and whatever. But like mostly, it's an emulation device for me, and so it's been really great for playing PlayStation 2 games again. It's got a really nice dual thumbstick situation. It's just got a lot of nice bells and whistles. Like it's not as fancy of a machine as something like a Steam Deck, and it's not going to be as um, it's not going to be as, I think, seamless and beautiful of an experience as the Switch 2 will be. But it is a really nice premium handheld emulation device. Um, and I like it a lot. I am very interested in the rumors slash reports of Microsoft really dipping its toe into kind of OS side stuff like third party devices that are now kind of running some PC and Xbox stuff more natively. Obviously, they're still developing a handheld. They've been pretty upfront about that, and eventually it'll come out. I will be very interested to see if Steam takes the same approach as Microsoft and decides, well, we can put Steam OS on this. It'd be really interesting to see if they kind of switch and say, okay, like, all right, now like Steam Deck, you can get Xbox stuff, you can get some PC stuff in some sort of future update. Like it would be interesting to see if that actually happens. But I saw someone on Blue Sky say, the second a handheld comes out that can really handle PC, Xbox, Steam, Epic Game Store, stuff kind of natively on a handheld, that's going to be kind of the killer app. Like, who knows if all of those things will ever align? I think some interesting stuff would have to happen to make that occur. Um, but gosh, that'd be really cool. I am really interested in that. I mean, there aren't that many games that I feel like I'm missing out on handheld wise. There aren't a lot of like Xbox killer apps, honestly, that I'm like, I gotta play this on handheld. Um, there was a moment where I was a little disappointed that I couldn't play Starfield on Steam Deck, but that moment passed very quickly when I realized that Starfield wasn't very good. So there's just been a while where it's like, maybe I could see Avowed coming out later this year and being something I would want to play on handheld and I can't on my Steam Deck. Like that's something I think about. But Xbox is in a really interesting situation where I just don't know, at least right now, what I would play, what I would be champing at the bit to play um, on a handheld device. Who knows? But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to game wise. I haven't been playing a whole lot of new stuff. I still have been dabbling in some things that I missed at the end of last year, but I still haven't played mouth washing, which I really want to get to. I gotta close this window. PC World, your website, kind of, kind of shitty. Sorry, content's good. Internet's bad now, huh? So frustrating. Let's do Hive questions. Excuse me. Um, every single week we answer Hive questions. If you are a member of the Hive, you can go to vgbs.com/join to join the Hive if you would like to, starting at $9.99 a month. You get some bonus episodes. You get some cool stuff. You also just get to support what we're doing, which is amazing. We have no ads on the website. We have no ads on the podcast. We are just here doing this thing, supporting ourselves, all that stuff. We are a small independent outlet. And you can support us by going to vgbs.com/join. Yeah, if you join the Hive, you can go to our Hive category in our Discord and go to the Hive content channel and ask us questions every single week. We have a few really good ones. Excuse me. Our first question comes from My Hero Zero. Thank you so much, My Hero Zero. Favorite GDQ. Let's take that one from the top. My Hero Zero asks, favorite GDQ run of this event so far? There have been a few really good ones. I think the highlight for me, which we did watch most of the other morning, was the 2 players, 1 controller run of Breath of the Wild. That was a riot. Literally just before I came on to record this, there was an all dungeons run of Tears of the Kingdom, which was also very interesting. I love, really, really love 100% or max runs. All Dungeons is not a 100% or max run, but it's as close as you can, I think, reasonably get with Tears of the Kingdom for seeing kind of all of the major dungeons, which there are technically 6 of them. And it was a really cool run, so I really enjoyed that. But that 2 players, 1 controller run on Breath of the Wild is completely insane. The VOD is up now on the channel. It's been up for a few days. It's been really lovely. Listen, they ran Shenmue at this thing. I gotta say, it was a little dry for my taste. Which, like, for the Shenmue haters out there, not gonna surprise you. But even I was kind of surprised at how dry it was, and it made me begin to contemplate what it's like for folks to watch someone else play that game like I made everyone do. I might do it again too. I did watch it and I was like, I could play Shenmue again already. I love a Shenmue. I love it. My Hero Zero also asks, have an all-time favorite from past events. Like I said, I do really like 100% or max runs. Longer runs are really good. There was a great Final Fantasy VIII run from a few years ago that I really liked. Linkus's Wind Waker 100% run was really cool. That's a really beefy one. There was a Super Mario Odyssey run from Bayleaf that I really like. I thought the commentary was really good. Spike Vegeta was on the couch of that one. And the energy was just really good in that Super Mario Odyssey run. There's also a Doom 2016 run, like 100% run, that is amazing. They call in one of the devs who worked on it, and that's very cool. Unfortunately, the connection between um, the dev who worked on the game and kind of the rest, because he was remote, Unfortunately, that was really bad. That was like really weird and it's kind of awkward. But as far as like a run goes, it was really interesting. Doom Eternal had a similar run really recently. So I really, really like just big runs that I can just turn on. Majora's Mask randomizer runs, Majora's Mask 100% run. Um, like I really, really enjoy those. And there's some trash ones. I mean, there was one this week that was the Batman Forever arcade game, which I had never in my life seen. I had never seen, I don't think I've ever seen this game in a fucking arcade. I don't remember it at all. And it was a total fever dream. I loved it. I loved every second of it. Riot of a couch, too. So I would go check out that one as well. But you really can't go wrong. Just find a VOD, turn it on. You'll learn a lot about these games, especially ones that like you might not have played for a long time or ever. And you just you see people dig right into their bones. It's awesome. Jason asks, I talked about making cakes. I did talk about making cakes. What's my favorite cake I've ever made? Do you have a place you like to go for recipes or just all over? So, for recipes, I have a couple of friends. Well, I have one friend. I have one friend. I have one friend I go to for recipes. Um, her name is Liz Davenport. She lives in New York. She's a caterer, and she runs a TikTok account that's mostly just Broadway reviews. She goes to see like 200 Broadway shows a year or whatever. It's crazy. And off Broadway. It's not just Broadway. Anyway, she has a blog called e2bakesbrooklyn.com. I also believe she has like Broadway Baker or something like that. Anyway, um, Liz Davenport's great. I actually had her on. Thanks for the knowledge. That's an old fan bite throwback. I had her on that show a really long time ago to talk about recipe development and that stuff, which was a lot of fun. Um, her recipes are really good. Um, I have made uh, I made like a birthday cake once that was really delicious. Um, Banana bread slash cupcakes. That's kind of my go to, are chocolate pecan banana bread muffins essentially, but they're cupcakes. I just don't frost them. That's kind of my go to. So I guess technically that's my favorite. I have still not mastered the art of making a delicious moist chocolate cake. It's crazy. I've made a couple of good chocolate cakes that I thought were fine, but the best chocolate cake that I've had is made by my realtor, Paul Cleveland, and his wife Melinda. And they make these really delicious chocolate and lemon cakes, and they usually give them out every year. I usually get a few every year because they're really sweet, they're really delicious, and they're really nice to give me one. But but the best cake is their chocolate cake, and I can't make a cake that's like that. I just can't. So I'm gonna work on that this year, and that's what I'm gonna do. My other goal is to make a really delicious carrot cake, um, and that's it. That's it. I don't make a ton of cakes, but I'm getting into making cakes because I've kind of stopped making ice cream now. Um, and in terms of all over, I have to be honest. I've used a lot of TikTok recipes, so I'm gonna have to go in and save a lot of that shit over the next couple weeks. But TikTok has been pretty good for cooking. There's a lot of trash that comes out of that stuff too, but there are some really good bakers who've made some delicious stuff that I've tried. It's really good. Sphinx asks in that vein, you are trying a new recipe for the first time. Do you follow the directions to the letter, or do you adjust to your taste from the jump? It really depends. If I'm cooking something and I know that they've under seasoned it, or like they've used less garlic, or like um, they've just used less flavor or like less spice, I will usually go, okay, I know I want this to be a little bit spicier, or more seasoned, and I would usually make those adjustments. If I'm baking something, I usually go straight by the letter the second I do it, and then I will taste that recipe and then decide if I want to make any adjustments if I try it again. Um, so that's my advice for recipes. Like if you see a recipe and you know immediately how you would want to adjust it and you feel confident about it, like do it. It's fine. But if especially if I'm making something I've never made before, I usually just follow the recipe and see how it goes. Jason also asks, is there a snowball's chance in hell they port Mystical Ninja to Switch or the Switch U/Switch 2? Um, I think we might get Mystical Ninja game Goemon in online. If we haven't already. Wait, I just said that. Hold on a second. Nintendo Switch Online 64 games. I think I just said that, and I was like, wait a second. Okay, all right. No, I'm not crazy. No, it is not on Nintendo Online, which is what I thought. I was like, I had this like false memory that of the little frame flipping around for that, but it was in my head. It's not true. I think we might get it there. I don't know about like rights issues if there's any sort of licensing stuff that might be messed up for that, but I'm not sure. Um, but I don't think it's like out of the realm to expect there to be just a Nintendo Online version of that. A port or like a remake or something? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I do love Mystical Ninja Goemon. Um, excuse me. That was one of the games over on Blue Sky, floppyadult.com. That's my handle. Um, I am doing the 365 games, realizing pretty early on I don't know if I've even played 365 games. I think I have. I think I was like doing some like napkin math, and I'm like, I think I probably have. Um, but I'm doing a countdown every day. I did pick Mystical Ninja Goemon recently. I just thought about that game. It was like one of those first like big adventures I felt like on Nintendo 64, and it was a cool game, weird game, which I loved. I really loved as a kid. Destructonaut, no question. Just hope Nikki and everyone in LA are safe. Very sweet. Yes, mentioned at the top of the show. Nikki and LB are both doing okay. They're just not having a great time. You know, one time that Anna and I had to evacuate our home and go further east. We were in Sherman Oaks. Bad smoke situation. We decided to go east to Pasadena for a few days. And that was scary. That was scary to leave our place. Like we didn't really think that there was going to be any real danger of losing our apartment, but um, but we were worried. We took both dogs and went to a hotel and stayed there for a few days. And gosh, that was expensive and hard. But it was good to have electricity and not having to inhale smoke all the time. So yeah, it's just a lot to deal with those fires. Um, Dole Focus asks worst GDQ run so far. I don't know if I'd say it was the worst, but there was a dynamic that shows up every single time at GDQ. And for this one, it was during Sonic Lost World. I think it was the Sonic Lost World. It's a European runner and a guy on the couch who means well, but makes a lot of jokes and also a lot of assertions that the runner disagrees with. And the runner was like a little prickly. It's just a dynamic I see show up. It's not that they hate each other because, as far as I know, the runner kind of helps pick the couch. Um, but it's just some people are just not. They're not meant to kind of hold court. They're not. They're not built to hold your attention in a natural way, which is why they have hosts who read donations and stuff like that. Excuse me, who are often kind of media trained or have just been doing this for a long time and just kind of have like the personality of someone who can kind of like keep that going. Now, that can that can be a flip side too, whereas like for example in Tears of the Kingdom run, commentary a little dry, good commentary, but like dry, subdued, calm, not completely full of humor all the time, which I liked. But the host kept bringing kind of a different energy, and I think did it too much personally. And so there's just a really interesting thing that shows up. Um, the most cringe GDQ moment was just that one guy who yelled at the other guy on the couch. I don't remember what they were playing, but it was really fucking awkward. The guy who did the guy who did the opera singer thing at this one, he has a great voice. Whatever. I didn't vibe with it. I just didn't vibe with it. It was a whole lot of theater kid that I just wasn't ready for. So that was at least from this one the moment that was frustrating. I was frustrated. It's weird though. GDQ is so interesting. It's like there are elements of it that pop up every year that I don't actively enjoy. You know, there's some tryhardness and there's some bad jokes and there are running jokes that get driven into the ground very quickly. There's always an awkward runner or two. There's always an awkward couch person or two. But it's a weird thing where like if you don't there's something about it where it's like if you don't have those elements of it, it feels like the whole thing falls apart. Like I don't I there are parts of GDQ I don't like, but I'm so afraid of them trying to correct them. Does that make sense? I'm just so afraid of like what happens if they try to like eradicate the parts of it that aren't as good, you know? Does that also mean that then we don't have this like unabashedly unapologetically like pro trans vibe that kind of permeates every aspect of GDQ. Like don't mess with it if it's gonna you know what I mean? If it's like there's so many good elements of it that um, that I think are worth preserving. That I'm worried about addressing any of the parts that I don't actually like very much. Um, so anyway, I think GDQ is really special. Even the warts, I have kind of a soft spot for. Um, you know, even the cringiest GDQ run, I still really like a lot usually. So it's just been a really, really good week, especially for folks that might need a distraction from um, stuff that might be happening to them. So um, yeah, so GDQ is great. Everyone in the server has been watching stuff together, and it's been a lot of fun. Uh, excuse me. Oh, one note. Um, if you didn't know, there are usually incentives. excuse me. Usually incentives to name custom characters. Like if you're going to name an RPG protagonist or something. Luigi is by far the most popular thing. It's popped up, I want to say 12 times. Been the clear winner. So we really are looking at the year of Luigi, not the way Nintendo would want it, but the way we probably deserve it. So that's an interesting note. And that's an interesting note we're going to leave on. I know this is a bit of a short one. Hard to do these solo. We're going to be back next week with more discussion. Um, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot to discuss. I think there will, again, I think acceleration is happening. Um, and we'll see. I want to thank Jordo, of course, for his continued wonderful production on this show. Thank you so much, Jordo. And again, everyone at VGB's in Discord or whatever, wishing the very best for folks in Los Angeles. It's been a lot of the message I've been fielding. It's just like, wondering if Niki and LB are okay, and a bunch of other folks that we know who live there. And so, yeah, again, I will leave some links in the show notes of organizations and initiatives that you can donate to or just support in various ways. I would ask you to do that. And it'll go a long way to help people get back on their feet. So, yeah. Thanks so much. Once again, vgbs.com/join. Oh, by the way, we have our official top 5 written games of the year up on the site now. And our list, or my list, is over at giantbomb.com for the games 6 through 15. So I got 15 games on my GOTY list this year. 10 of them are over at Giant Bomb, and the top 5, the HIVE 5, are over on VGBs.com. So go check that out. Oh, let me think about plugs real quick. Hey, if you want to pre-order a foot-based controller for video games and VR and everything else, you can go to glider.gg, glydr.gg, for just $30 down. You can pre-order one of these wonderful devices. It will ship between March and May of this year, and we're so excited to get the first batch out to folks. And yeah, that's my plug for this time. All right, folks, we will be back again next week. Until next time, keep on buzzing.